Hello, and welcome to Emma Sumner's mini radio show. This is the first podcast I've yet to make, and this one in particular is about Kundalini awakening. So, what happens when your Kundalini arises, whether intentionally or unintentionally, which some people would call spontaneously, and what specifically is Kundalini energy? So, there are a lot of questions coming my way, and basically, they are about how to manage your energy after your Kundalini has awakened. Because I'll start with the basics. Your Kundalini energy is an energy center at the base of your spine, which, once activated, rises up through all of your chakras, from your base chakra, your sacral, your power center, your heart center, your throat, your third eye, and your forehead, and connects up through expanded consciousness through to your higher self and to God, higher consciousness, and all that is. So all of us have this energy center and the potential for that to awaken in any of our lifetimes. Previously, this context or experience of Kundalini awakening would happen for people like Jesus or Buddha or monks who spend a lot of time in states of meditation, connecting with all that is God, and that creates a space within their body, a structure within their energy field that allows them to hold more of their God self. So when your Kundalini awakens, it opens up all of your chakra centers and allows for the clearing out and the cleansing of all the gunk, all the muck, all the stuff from all of your lifetimes to be cleared out so that you can become a more potent and powerful vessel of God, Source, and the light, or your higher self, or the universe, or whatever you want to call it. So there's a lot of information about Kundalini energy and awakening on the internet, which is great. But a lot of that information comes from people who haven't had a Kundalini awakening. And that's fine, because we've all got to learn and share in our own way. And sometimes reading is a good way to learn about it, and we can teach by what we read. But if you really want to understand the process of integrating, calming, settling, and using your awakening, you need to hear from and listen to someone who has had that experience. And I, Emma Sumner, am someone who has had that experience. So, hello, nice to meet you. I'll give you my very brief story, because to go into too much detail is a bit too sensitive of a topic. It's like having a really peak experience and trying to take you there with me, and it's not really all that helpful. I just need to give you the outskirts of the situation so you can understand it. So basically, when I was 19, I started doing a lot of yoga, and I started doing Ashtanga yoga and a lot of intense kind of opening and strengthening and energetic practices. But at that time, I didn't know what energetic practices were. I was just engaging in a process with a trusted teacher. And it was fun and exciting, and I was having a lot of experiences of seeing energy around me when I would come out of certain yoga postures, and that freaked me out a bit. But I still felt safe enough to continue on with what I was doing. So one day, after having been going to yoga for maybe 6 months, I went to the Botanic Gardens in my city, in Adelaide, and I went to one of my favourite trees, and I had a packet of chocolate biscuits with me. I'd just finished work. It was the middle of the day, and I sat down at the tree, and I was reading a book called The Celestine Prophecy. So some of you might know that book. It's a great book, and it's one of those beginning phases books that helps you to open up to the concept of life being energy and everything happening for a reason. Anyway, I'd been sitting at this tree that was about 300 years old, maybe more, and I'd been sitting there for about 2 hours reading that book, just totally tapped into the zone, and I must have come into such a state of alignment that I could hear my higher self or my guides talking to me really clearly. And I heard a voice say to me, "Get up now." And it was a real masculine, clear, succinct voice. "Get up now, stand up now." And I did, I just stood straight up. And at the moment that I stood up, it was like an earthquake of the most potent and powerful energy imaginable rising up through my feet underneath the earth, through my entire body, right up my spine, and coming right out the crown of my head. And it was like a giant lion came out of the top of my head 3 or 4 feet and roared out the top of my head. And imagine a lion's head the size of a house. That's how big it felt. And my consciousness was right up there with the top of that lion, like maybe 2 or 3 stories high. And my body became paralyzed. I couldn't move it. I didn't have a sense of control over it. I was kind of in and out of my body at the same time. I had this sense of profound, buoyant strength, and I was shaking like a rocket ship had shot out the crown of my head. And everything around me stopped. So all time stopped. It was like I'd entered into a painting and a picture, and then I could walk in there and move all the parts around. But I couldn't move my body. I couldn't think any thoughts. I was just in consciousness. And that's a really difficult thing to explain when we're so conditioned to being in our minds, because when you're in pure consciousness, you're surrendered to the higher will, if that's what you'd call it, the universe's will for you, the divine aspect of what wants to happen. So you're not in control anymore, but God's in control, and that's who you really are. So in that sense, you are in control. So I was in that moment. I was kind of freaked out, but I was totally enamored and at peace as well. And what happened is everything stopped, and I'm still like meters and meters above my head, but in my body at the same time, I became huge. Like, I call it the lion's head or the lion's gate that I passed through. And around me, everything began to sparkle and became luminescent, like you would see in a child's film, like pearlescent energy everywhere. And if you imagine like a sphere of energy that went from the sky and around the vision that you can see, the periphery that you can see, it was like a sphere of pearlescent liquid veils started slipping and falling from the top, like the crown of your head almost, like that circle, that sphere, and down and around you. So these veils of energy just slipped. So the trees around me would slip, and the next veil would slip, and it would go slip, 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 and it was this most elegant and beautiful thing. And as the veil slipped, time expanded into infinity and collapsed into the still point of now, which is like tinier than the tiniest speck of tiny you can ever see. So at the same time, everything expanded into infinity, all time and existence, and collapsed into nothingness, to the black still point of now. So as these veils were slipping and this time thing that was happening, it was profound. I was just being within all of it. And sorry, just making sure this is still recording. One moment. My phone is here. Sorry, we're in the middle of the story. Okay, good, it's still recording. So everything was slipping away. And I came to know in that very one moment that I had what I've now come to understand is an oversoul. So me, the higher aspect of me, lifts right up out into infinity, into the God self. And I incarnate into millions of different lives at one time. So imagine like this massive cloud of light is somewhere up in the sky in a sense, even though it's not separate from your body, but from the human mind, this is how we see it. This cloud of light is up in the sky, and it's got all these little drops of light, these like strings that fall down into all these different bodies at once. So the light in the sky, that ball or cloud of light, is the oversoul, your main body of soul. And then all of the different aspects of your soul incarnate into all these different bodies and timelines and histories and realms at the same time. So this is what you might call soulmates or past lives, because there aren't actually past lives. There are just other lives that you are living right now. And that's how you can slip between different realms and different realities. And the concept of soulmate, there's a certain like a vibrational frequency that comes from recognizing another aspect of yourself. And so everyone has a massive oversoul with heaps of other souls splitting down. And then these oversouls have, like, it just keeps going, like babies keep being born. These oversouls have other similar frequency soulmate oversouls. And then it goes on and on. So it's like you can't ever get to the bottom of the connection between all of us. But it's not that anything is ever separate. It's just that certain energies are so similar in frequency, they conglomerate together a little bit more and combine in their intentions with how they're going to operate in the universe at that moment of time or space or whatever. So yes, that's how I came to understand souls. And in that moment, I also slipped into one of my other lives that I'm living now, but in terms of human history might have been like a couple of billion, thousands of years ago. Apparently it would have been some of the first kind of version of humans on Earth, which I've now come to understand is the Anunnaki. And let me just say, before and whilst I was having this experience, I had no idea what any of these things were. I didn't know what Anunnaki was. I didn't know what an oversoul was. I didn't know what Kundalini energy was. All of this came to me in this powerful downloaded moment, and it took about 7 to 8 years for the information to come to me in words and for me to go, oh, that's what that was, or that's what that was, and now I have another word to confirm what that was to me. So the lifetime I slipped into, I was this massively tall giant man who kind of looked like a Maori warrior, and I had this black plait from the middle of my head that went right down the middle of my head, right down my back, right down the center of my back, almost right to the base of my spine. It was this black braided plait, and the sides of my head were kind of shaved. And I had these big warrior tattoos down both arms, and I just had like not jocks, but like a schlong kind of, like a schlong, like a kind of underwear covering just around my genitals. And I was barefoot, and I had very tan skin and dark eyes, and I kind of like was a good version of an orc in a weird way. Like I was a warrior of light, but I was in a time of darkness in that time of our history, and I would have been a lot bigger than the normal human size. So when I say I slipped into that lifetime, my energy literally slipped into that lifetime, and I started walking within that body. Like I couldn't look down and see my arms as that man's arms, but I was in it. I could feel it. It was like I'd slipped into a parallel reality. And my feet were barely touching the ground, and everything was sparkling. And in that moment, in that time of my life, I was hunting. I was out literally hunting for food, and I was in this like really ancient forest. And it was just profound because I was aware of my lifetime as Emma. I was aware of my oversoul true self, and I was also slipping into another lifetime and gaining information from that. So I came back from this Anunnaki warrior lifetime and finally slipped back into Emma. And it took maybe like 2 to 3 hours for me to come back down to earth. I just stayed in the gardens in the sun, and I just integrated, and I was in complete terror and shock. It was the most profound experience of my life and the most traumatic that I can remember, because when your energy opens up that quickly and you have such an out-of-body experience, it changes everything you understand about human life. And I thought I'd gone crazy. Mind you, I was also completely sober when this happened. I wasn't taking drugs or anything like that. It was a very sober, grounded experience on a Monday in the middle of the day. And I had no understanding of what this stuff was. And here is the biggest jewel of this story, in my opinion. So on the Saturday before this happened, I was walking in a park on my way home from the city. I live not too far from the city, and I decided to go sit by a tree and just relax in the sun. So I did a lot of tree sitting and relaxing at this time of my life. And I got this inspiration all of a sudden to do a handstand against a tree and just go into a deep back bend because my body was just craving for that opening. So I went into a deep back bend with my legs back against the tree and my body all arched up, open. And as I was coming out of the handstand, this white van drove off of the road through the parklands over the grasslands, like not even on the path, and drove right down to the tree that I was sitting at. And I stood up because I was a little bit kind of alarmed or concerned, thinking, okay, what's going on here? And these two people dressed completely in white got out of the van, completely in white pants, white t-shirts. And they had a little logo right in the center of their chest on their white t-shirt, and it was all in black, and it said, "Heal the world." And it was just so tiny. And one of the guys had these really short dreadlocks, and to be honest, they looked a little bit like aliens, but well, maybe they were, maybe they weren't, who knows. But they were people in my mind at that time. They got out the van and they walked over to me, and I was dressed in black, coincidentally. And the gentleman walked up very gently and politely, and he said, "Excuse me, miss." And I said, "Yes." And he said, we don't mean to bother you, but we were driving past and saw you in that handstand, and we just want to let you know your Kundalini energy is about to awaken. And I was like, "Kunda what? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?" Like, I had no idea what he was talking about. And I kind of thought, these people are crazy, and this is a really weird situation. And he said, and that can be that's a really big thing for that to happen, and it can be quite an intense process. So we just want to kind of wonder if you know what that is, and perhaps guide you to have a look on the internet and have a quick read into it so you know what's about to happen. And they kind of drove off and slipped back into the nothingness from which they came. And I walked home and kind of told my housemate about it and thought, what the hell, that was really weird. And I quickly looked online, what is Kundalini awakening, and thought chakras opening, whatever, and I just kind of let it go. So the 2 days later, on the Monday after they had come and see me in the parklands, on that Monday was the day that the Kundalini awakened at that tree, and I had that massive download experience. So that was totally off the planet. And since then, my life has never, ever, 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 ever been the same, no matter how hard I tried. It was, I guess it could be likened to if a person had always lived here on planet Earth and not believed in anything other than 3D, and then was abducted by aliens, and then had to come back and try to make sense of it all. In that sense, that's what it felt like. And about a year after that experience, I had this vision of getting a specific tattoo behind my ear, and it was a tribal tattoo which had a tortoise in it, and it kind of looks a bit Maori. And I had the vision, and 2 days later, it felt so right. I got it. I went to see my tattoo artist friend, and I got her to help me draw it up, and we put it straight on. And I didn't really know what it meant to me, but it meant something really powerful. I didn't have the word or the verbiage for it. And then a couple of years after that, I had another synchronistic encounter with a quite intuitive, clairvoyant friend, and I told her about this Kundalini experience, and she started to point out a few of the connections between the past life or other life that I'd slipped into, and said that what I was describing seemed a lot like Anunnaki. And as I looked into who and what the Anunnaki were online, I found out that there are a lot of correlations between the tattoo that I got and that culture. It was very tribal, very much like the Maori culture. Tataris was one of the representations or names of something related to the Anunnaki, and actually translate as tortoise. And I got a tortoise in my tattoo. And I'd been hearing in the back of my mind the name Goliath 3 days up until having this encounter with this clairvoyant friend. And Goliath happened to be one of the symbol names of something related to the Anunnaki tribes as well. So anyway, this information is all just personal confirmation, and it's so crazy accurate that it's weird. And the best thing about it is that I had all of the experiences before, and the information came to me years later. So it wasn't that I had that information planted and then had the experiences. It was the other way around. And so the validity of what I was being shown and experiencing was so far beyond my doubt. There's no way I could have doubted anything that happened or any of the information I was given. So in short, that was my Kundalini awakening. There is a lot more information within me that I will share about this as time goes on. It's a touchy subject, and so I'm choosing to share only what feels valid at the time. And the reason I want to talk about the topic of Kundalini with the public now is that I'm aware that there are a lot of people having similar awakening experiences and feeling really lost, because you can feel psychotic, you can feel crazy, you can be misdiagnosed as having a mental disorder or retreating from the world because you feel so confused about having seen through the illusion of 3D reality and trying to relate to the people who still identify with it. So the purpose of Kundalini energy awakening is not to escape life on earth or anything of that. It's to empower and enhance life on earth. It's to remind all of us to connect with spirit and the mass energy consciousness of all that is, that we are. And it helps us to evolve into the light beings that we always have been and always will be. It's just a process of evolution, consciousness, and awareness. And all of us have and will go through it at some stage, whether in this particular lifetime or another. And it doesn't matter. It's not better or worse. The life that you are living is the life that you're meant to live, and it is. No one is more conscious than another. Just certain people might choose to awaken certain energy centers within themselves to have different experiences of life. And that's all I see it as now. And so moving from that, I wouldn't suggest for people to go chasing to open or activate their Kundalini energy. The reason being is that it is such an intense experience that it takes a really long time to come down from, to integrate, and to utilize successfully in your life. So it's a commitment. It's not like going, oh, I just want to go play with that puppy, I'm going to buy it. You got to help that puppy grow, and that puppy is going to demand a lot of shit from you, and you have to be involved in the healing process that happens, because it is a form of trauma. Trauma is an experience that overwhelms the nervous system, and your Kundalini awakening is an experience that completely overwhelms your nervous system. So you have to recalibrate your body, your mind, and your psyche after it awakens. So if you're interested in Kundalini awakening, that's excellent, but I wouldn't go trying to make it happen at all. Work with the subtle energies of your body, sensitize yourself to nature, meditate, and just focus on being happy, because that's the point of life anyway. So what if your Kundalini awakens? So what if it doesn't? It's not why we're here. But if it does happen to awaken for you, one moment, I'm getting some water. We're entering the lounge room. Okay, we've got water. If it does happen to awaken for you spontaneously, and you have an experience where you're just out of it for days, weeks, months, you might find it hard to sleep. You might be waking up in the middle of the night from crazy dreams. You might find it hard to relax. Your body's always buzzing. You might feel like you've got energy shooting out of your ears, out of the top of your head, out of your feet. You might be jolting randomly around people. Your body might be jumping about. What that is, it's like fire. Your Kundalini is like fireworks that have been set off, and what's happening is that energy is running through all the different meridians and chakras of your body, opening them all out, getting ready to clear out the old junk. And so you're going to just have these like electric shots of energy moving through you. And it can be really funny, but when you're not used to it, you can feel like a total nut job. And not many people can relate to it. They just think like, whoa, what the hell's going on with that person? So some of the things I would suggest to do if your Kundalini has awakened is firstly, get grounded as often as possible. Be barefoot in nature daily as much as you can. Eat really grounding foods. Avoid caffeine, alcohol. Stay away from drugs, especially things like don't go taking DMT, hallucinogenic drugs. Stay off of speed and just stay off of dope. And yeah, try not to have alcohol, because all of these things are going to exacerbate a consciousness and a psyche that's already been fractured and open to such an extreme degree. And what you need to do now is to draw all that energy back and ground it down so that you can move forward with your new consciousness in a healthy and practical way, and you can live in the world in a really grounded and productive and joyous and fun way. Continuing to take drugs, especially DMT, is going to keep you out of your body, and it's going to stop you from integrating all of that energy, and it's going to affect your nervous system, which is going to have some really crappy effects in the long run, like depression and anxiety and chronic fatigue and PTSD and all that kind of stuff. So you want to stay grounded. Drink loads of water, clear up your vibe as much as possible, and then get yourself in to see some really good body workers, some open-minded body workers that are grounded in the practical reality of life, but have an understanding of energy, chakras, and awakening. For me, one of the best integrating physical practices has been network spinal analysis, also known as network care. It's like a gentle form of chiropractic that recalibrates the connection between your brain and your nervous system and spine, and how your brain and your nervous system pattern stress through your body. So if you have certain patterns of stress, these gentle kind of kinesthetic touches along your spine, your brain and nervous system activate your nervous system in a way to reintegrate those pathways in a healthy way. So you might respond to certain situations with defense. What happens when you have a network spinal session is this person will touch different parts of your spine, which will reprogram your nervous system to integrate that experience where you will open up instead of defend against that situation. It's kind of a hard therapy to describe, but it's very basically about integrating all the energy in your body, fear, stress, unhelpful habits, and utilizing that energy and transforming it into something that helps you. So it's not about taking anything from outside of you or releasing or clearing. It's about using what you've got, integrating it and using it and making yourself whole. And I think the reason why network care is so good for people who have had Kundalini energy awakenings is Kundalini awakening is the same kind of process. It's about awakening all of your energy centers and aligning and making congruency out of everything you've got within you already. It's not about leaving your body or going anywhere else or getting things from other people. It's about finding and harnessing the power that is within you as you already. So basically, finding yourself some good grounding energy practices, energy healers, body workers, chiropractors are going to help stabilize your nervous system and help you find your feet so you can be present and move forward and continue to grow. Also, if you can find a practitioner like a coach, a healer, a therapist, a psychologist who has an awareness of Kundalini energy awakening or even chakras, or has a respect for the concept of it. If you can find a person who has a respect for the concept of Kundalini awakening and get them to help you to psychologically work through the experience, that is going to be so invaluable. You need people who are going to validate and see and honor the process you're going through, because you feel crazy enough as it is with the experience you're having. You need someone to see you and respect you and validate you because the experience that you've had with the Kundalini awakening is a profound experience, and you're bringing through a consciousness that's a lot higher than a lot of people. Once again, it's not better or worse, but you're able to hold more light. So you need to make sure that people can understand that process and respect that what you have to offer is going to be of importance and value to the world, because you've created a container that allows for more love to pour through. Okay, so once you get the kind of the grounding aspect, the psychological support, the physical support, it's good to start actually understanding now what is the purpose or the reason, or what is actually happening with all my chakras and energy body. So what is happening with your Kundalini awakening is from your base chakra right up to your crown, and all the other smaller chakras in your body will open up, and all of the unconscious material held in those chakras, like for example childhood trauma, family patterning, generational patterning, low self-worth, a lack of boundaries, all of those shadow aspects are going to come up, and you're going to see them and you're going to feel them, and it's going to come up with an intensity that is not like everyone else's life. Again, not better or worse, but the awakening brings it to the forefront, like bam. You might go through a couple of years of incredible darkness, and you might feel like you're going completely backwards, but you're not. You're actually going forwards at a pace that is beyond the speed of light in a way, because everything's been opened and everything's been seen. You'll be doing a lifetime's worth of work in a couple of years. So some people might come into their body and incarnate for a lifetime and work through 4 different themes or issues and evolve from them. When you're Kundalini awakenings, you literally go through a rebirthing within your body without leaving your body, and you will go through those 4 themes within like a year. So it's a condensed evolution, and it's really intense. So you need the support, you need the grounding, and you need to feel understood, and you need mostly also to honor yourself. I'd also suggest to reaching out to people like myself or others who have been through similar experiences, and kind of finding that camaraderie of going, okay, I get you, I'm not alone, I'm not crazy, and this is a good thing, and I can use this. And also be aware of getting into social, spiritual circles where there's any type of superiority complex around this process of Kundalini awakening, because that can really get in the way of you seeing clearly the shadow aspects that are coming up. It's actually just another pattern of denial and avoidance. So you want to just kind of be present to life, stay centered and grounded, stay open, and learn really good energetic boundaries, learn how to clear your energy field. And I would also suggest eating really grounding, clean foods. So the basic tools are really quite simple, but most of this process is about acceptance and understanding of what's actually going on, so you don't deny or reject the profound process that is Kundalini awakening. Okay, this has been a fairly deep discussion, and there's a whole lot more that I would like to share on this topic. I will share based on the questions I'm asked mostly, and any inspiration I receive from my higher self to share on this topic. So if you have questions, please send them through to emmayogamoves, MOVES, @gmail.com. or contact me via my business page, Emma Sumner Yoga, or you're welcome to personal message me at my personal page, Emma Sumner, and just send some questions through, and I'll collect them, and when I have enough, I'll make another recording or video and answer more questions, because there's not enough people talking about this, and it's going to be happening for a lot more people in the next 10 to 20 years. So it's going to become a commonplace topic eventually, and let's start the topic now. So if this has been helpful to you, please do share this with your friends. You never do know who has had an experience that they don't know how to tell anyone about. I kept this to myself for a long time, and when I tried to tell people, they just kind of thought I was nuts or on drugs or they didn't understand, so I kept it even more closer to my heart, and I hid it, and I felt a lot of shame around it. So yeah, getting this out in the open is going to help the process along for a lot of people and make life a lot easier. So thank you. Please share and have a nice day. Thank you for being here. See ya.